Hello and welcome to Bricking It. Today we are looking at the Hogwarts main entrance build. This is going to be a filler piece that fills in the front of our Hogwarts castle. If you've watched the latest review of the castle, you'll see that the castle was expanded, so the main body of the build is now much wider, leaving us 24 studs gap in the middle of the build, which we needed to fill up with something because I didn't want to leave it open, especially as now excuse me, now the outside is starting to look a bit more presentable. So I decided to add a big piece in the middle, and each level of that piece is going to contain a different diorama or scene from throughout the Wizarding World. And the ground floor, as it's going to be the biggest one, and as I was using quite a lot of brown anyway, I decided would be the host to the Forbidden Forest build. So I'm going to start off with the front of the gate. Now obviously I built this because the way I design is that I build. So I've had to make a few reference photographs just to make sure that I get this right. So we're going to start off. Are we in the right place? No, we've already made a mistake. There we go. With our gatehouse entrance. So the idea behind the design was that literally this would fill in and make the outside look a bit more presentable. The whole point of just making the middle part really was just to fill in a lot of the space that I was going to be left with. Let's see how we're doing this. When I expanded the MOC after the most recent summer wave of new sets. Oh, hang on, let's turn some light on. It's looking a bit grim. That's improved it almost not at all, but at least we've got some light shining towards the piece. Yeah, the point of the build was I wanted to fill in the gap, but also after the latest summer wave of releases that I really wanted to include, and all the lovely stickers off the gift with purchase, I thought I might as well expand the Hogwarts and just give it a bit more room to breathe. So I added all the modules on each level just to expand out the space, put the corridors in, various bits and bobs just to take up some space. So this is our layered archway gatehouse. You can just see the 3 different levels of archway. I'm going to cap that off. Now every stage of this I'm definitely going to be doubting myself as to whether I've done it correctly or not. I've remembered what goes where. Generally I won't have, but hopefully get it back to looking almost like it did after I built it. So that is the main difficulty of designing in hand, is that I can't really tell if I'm going to get what I want to get. So we're going to expand out the front of our base plate. So we're looking through the gateway from the back at the moment, and we need it to fill up the space in front of the building. Actually, that filler space goes here, and that's going to fill the 24 studs across the size of the gap. So as well as the gate, we're going to need to add in some walls to our build. So each side of the gate, we're going to have one of these nice little sort of like turret wall pieces. I'm going to go in just on either side and back. Oh, bits everywhere now. There we go, it's my carefully laid plans put paid to. That's the start of our MOC. So that's the ultimate width, so we haven't got to go too much further now that we've got those bits in. So first up on this side, just got this little collection. So it's literally just a 2-wide tower, and you can see on the back of it here, we've got a bunch of brown bricks to help brace it. These are our pinholes. We do use these on this build because it needs to pin into the side of the main castle, just to make sure everything stays upright. On the other side, get another, whoop, there we go. Another of these little towers. So a lot of the bricks on the inside, mostly cosmetically, are going to be brown, but some of them actually do play a part in the build, or at least visible from the build. So we just want some brown bricks in there just to fill up the space. Each of these towers is brought up to level. A couple of these angles. Most unusual that I get a Saturday afternoon just to sit and build Lego. Very nice. Okay, let's stabilise some of this build here. And here. So these are all still loose and a bit floppy. As we go up the build, these will all get integrated in and it will all become much more stable. So at each level, we're going to be capping off these towers, because these towers continue up a good, I think, three floors of the build. I've already messed it up. How have I done that? Let's see. Oh, well, obviously that's on backwards. This is where I brought a brick separator to the table. That's a classic mistake. There we go. It wasn't too difficult in the end. So the only reason I really decided to stream this, rather than just build it, I had the distinct impression I was going to mess it up. And I'd have to keep building and unbuilding. So I thought, well, if I'm going to mess it up anyway, I might as well let everyone see it happening in real time. See how long all of this stuff takes. Okay, that feels a bit more right. So let's try again. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so these angled parts obviously lock in the tower to their side piece, but the towers themselves still aren't locked in to the main build. So next up is going to be our gates. So these are just fairly simply built. As you can see, a stack of the sort of like log style bricks with just a snot brick to give us a door handle. These are going to sit just here. Oh. Get that centralised. Okay, that's our gates in. Just a nice wooden gates. So that's that bit. That's the lowest level done. So this is going to be the build height for all the other modules. They're only going to be one layer high. Just the 8 bricks tall. So this would be, this dark tan layer would be the cap layer. So as you can see, I've just got a layer of tile on here, just to cap off the top. That's just because the next layer towers are going to sit on top there, and as we don't really have or if we do, I've missed it completely, an angled plate here to join them up. I'm just going to sit them like that. The main reason I'm doing it on this one is because it's the same on all the other levels, so I wanted to keep the towers consistent throughout each level. Obviously they need to separate, whereas this one doesn't, but still I've kept that little architectural detail just to keep the columns looking, or the towers rather, looking the same all the way up. So as you can see, I've still got a few little detail pieces where I've torn this build down. Now I'm trying to rebuild it up again. So you'll just notice a bit more dark tan and some brown bricks creeping in. So as we're going to be building the front and the back, before we go any further up, there's just some little infrastructure bits we need to put in. You'll see I've just got a bit of a flying piece there. So I've got to go to my tub o' brown things. Let's see if I grab the right piece off the bat. It's looking promising. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. Obviously lost a brick off the top of that. Oh, the sound of building. So I'm separating some pieces out just so I can see what the score is. So I decided to do the Forbidden Forest as this internal module. Obviously it's an area that features in each of the movies. So I think in all but possibly Half-Blood Prince, I think they don't go into the forest. In each of the other books they do. They have at least some brief excursion into the forest. So this is going to serve as a backdrop and a sort of a framework for each of those, much like the modules, especially Defense Against the Dark Arts, do inside the castle, where each year the inside's going to be a little bit different. Again, in this module, although it will always be the Forbidden Forest, each year there's going to be a little different scene set up inside. Right, well, I cannot for the life of me remember what goes there. Let's see. So we're going to start off, first bit of internal building with some of these parts here. And this is going to be one of our large trees. It's just going to sit in our forest. So going to be framed at the sides with some fairly large rounded trunks each side, using actually the recesses in here to give us a bit of depth that we're losing by having so much architecture or architectural features taking up so much of the build plate. So we only actually get 6 studs of scene, going down to as little as 4, as you can see. So we want to make as much use of the depth to get our forest feel as we can and not lose too much build space for showing our scenes. So I'm just going to have a quick reference now to some of my photos to make sure I don't mess this up any more than I usually do. See if I actually took a picture of the important pieces. Here we go, what we got there. Right. Scrabble, scrabble. See what we can find. So if I'm doing anything weird and you're thinking, what's he up to? Just let me know in the comments. If you want to ask me any questions about the build, I'd say about anything, but I know nothing about nothing. So we'll probably keep it to Lego, shall we? There we go, it's the first bit of tree infrastructure. Just going to use just a little cheese wedge at the bottom there. Just give us a bit more root shape, make things look a bit more natural. And this tree is actually going to continue up a much higher, all the way to the top of the build. So these trunks are going to be fairly chunky, and the foliage is going to be spread out through the entirety of all the levels. So on this side it works a little bit differently. Just need to make sure we've got all our infrastructure in place. What have I forgotten? Usually the case. Talk amongst yourselves. See if I can remember how to build what I'm supposed to be showing you. Right. So over on this side, I've got a little root piece. Now clearly I've missed some bits. Yes. Let's add another bit of time in there. There we go. Would not make Lego happy seeing the way I'm building this thing. Right. So I'm going to have to start getting these trees out. I thought they wouldn't be needed till much nearer the end. Obviously, Lego's built from the ground up, so I don't know what I was thinking. Right, so next we're going to pop in one of these quarter trunks. We're just going to whack it on one of these L-shaped plates, just so it's got something to hold to, because we're actually going to build it into this recess here. Now, these pieces do fit. It's a bit of a squeeze, mainly because my parts are a little bit warped, because they were all second hand, and these boxes tend to lose their size, contract in. Often you'll get a bit of dishing in the top of the brick, but that just fits in perfectly. The stud just holds by friction just inside that part. See if we can see that. So it's literally touching the top of the piece, so I don't have to do any particular over flexing or stressing of the pieces. It's just bringing them into true shape, and they will just sit there by friction. Probably illegal, but I've done it anyway. Let's see if we can find the mirror part of that. So I've got the trunk. I've just got to find a little L-shaped base plate. It's always one piece, isn't it? It's a tiny little piece, vital, usually right at the bottom of a build. and just eludes you for about 45 minutes, and you find it stuck to your elbow or something. Just check my elbow that it's not there. See, this is why I build on the floor and spread myself out. Got it. Ready to continue. So it's going to be exactly the same build, facing the other direction. It's going to pop in there. Now we don't quite have the sliding room, but luckily we've got that gap right in the top of that castle bit, and it just allows us to slide in the next bit of tree trunk, and that will tension in there. Put this back together. There we go. Good. So we're starting to take shape. We're starting to get a little bit of detail into the bottom of our build. Add some more infrastructure pieces. Well, I do hope the scrabbling won't carry on for too long, because it's annoying me, so it must be annoying you. Right, so the next piece of our build is going to fill in this hole here. So this is just going to be something again to give us a little more depth. We're using this kind of little tree trunk construction, just bricks and plates, just to bring us to almost the right height. And we're going to pop a bracket on there, again with a little stack of plates. No reason other than I ran out of bricks. And we've got one of these nice little, is that sticker? Yeah. Stickered pieces on the end. Got that in a brick haul recently. I can't remember what that's from. Possibly a friend set. I saw the sticker, it had wood pieces on, planks and things like that, and I'll often pick up a piece with that kind of detail if I can find it. And to attach that deep in there, obviously no studs on the bottom there. So again, we're going to grab some studs from the outside of the build and take them in with us. Again, this is going to be tensioned in right to the limits of the build, so that our bracket is just going to have its studs just underneath. Just underneath like that. So we get the illusion of a trunk in the distance with an old trimmed branch sticking out of it, just to help sell the illusion of depth, just as these two trees are disappearing beyond the limits of the wall that we have in place there. So let's continue up with some more tree work. So the next one is going to go just here like this. He says, brimming with confidence. It absolutely is not. That's not what's going to go there at all. Confidence unfounded. For this tree, we're actually going to be using these 4 stud wide half cylinders, and that's what's going to fill in here. So it looks like I need some more studdage along the bottom. I swear I planned this. It's all absolutely how it's meant to be going. Luckily for me, I remembered to bring my little tray of spare bits and bobs, so I can raid that for a bit of ground cover. Let's see what we got that and that. Oh, I'm sure I bought a brick separator with me. Okay. What a disappointing first comment. But anyway, we will soldier on. Put those in there. Lovely. So this tree is actually going to continue out. We're going to have a little branch coming off the side. Excuse me vamping while I desperately try and remember how that piece goes in. Let's go back to our scrabbling tin. Let's have a little look at what we got here. Bum, bum, bum. So I went to 3 or 4 different iterations. Wow, fairly good record keeping. How unusual for me. Yeah, I went through several iterations of the way this was going to work. And, you know, initially each version of it just looked messy and unplanned because, you know, it was messy and unplanned. I wasn't really paying a huge amount of attention to what I was doing as I was building it. I was just trying to get stacks of brown just so I could, you know, get that illusion of a bit of forestry. But eventually I'd refine it and refine it and refine it, and we'd end up with our finished product, which hopefully by the time we get to the end of this you will agree looks fairly good. Right, so that's a bit of scrabbling around, doing boring stuff that you didn't get to see. Not much point having a live stream if you're not going to show your audience what you're up to. But we've got a little stack here, a couple of 2x2s, and on top of that it's going to go this brown arch piece with a slope on top, just to thicken sort of the profile of the branch we've got going up there, and a few of these on top. And this will sit, where will it sit? This will sit right into there like that. Okay, those on there, that's going to go on there. That's just going to form the next bit of infrastructure to top the build. So as you can see, once we get our trunk back in here, it's the wrong bit of trunk. Well, that makes a huge difference, made the same all the way up. You can see we get the appearance of that branch growing out of that trunk there. Good stuff. Okay, now on the other side, try and make it look a bit more like some trees rather than just a plain bit of ground. Let's see, where are we? Pop in one of these. One of these. Why is that different? Oh, brain fart. Right, that appears to be the same. So what is that floating in the air? We need more infrastructure. Alright, fill in that last bit there. Bosh. Bob's your mother's brother, we're in. So I tried to obviously stick mostly with reddish brown, but you'll occasionally see, I'd like to think at every juncture for artistic reasons, but usually because I didn't have a piece in the right colour, that throughout our trees we're going to be popping in just the odd bit of dark tan. Maybe you'll get some dark brown in there as well. Maybe some dark orange. So that's the bottom of that tree, just to give it a bit more of a trunky look. Now, obviously we can't send one of these pieces around the corner into there and have it match up. So we want everything to match. So what we're going to do is going to match up to a part of the build that we haven't actually added yet. So maybe I'll show you that bit first. So obviously, with our build recessing into there, we're going to lose the roundness. So we're just going to approximate that with this little construction. So it's just a couple of 2 stud high snot bricks, a couple of cheese wedges on their side. By popping those on there, we get to roughly approximate the continuation of the tree as it goes up. And the same on the other side there. So where we can't send our tree back into that recess, at least we can continue that kind of general sense up the length of the tree to make it look a little less incongruous. Going to have the whole side of the tree up here built in the same way. Give our camera a chance to focus so you can see what's going on. Just got to pop that out though, just for the moment, because we need to fill in back here, because you can see into that kind of gap. So let's see, how did I do that? You're good watching a master at work. Entire command of his workspace and his workflow, knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah, maybe you should go and find that video, because it isn't this one. Let's see. Surely the piece will become breathtakingly obvious when I finally run across it. Oh yeah, it's pretty simple. So this is going to be just one of these. Oh, come out. It's just going to sit in the gap behind there. Lovely. And then again, we're going to use that brown arch to give us the look of a branch coming out of this tree. So this is all one trunk around here. And once we get this piece in here, then we've got a couple of branches growing out a couple of different angles. Just give us quite a nice tree piece there. It's lovely. And again, let's bring that one back in, just so we can see how we're going. So this one here is going to continue up one more level. We're actually going to start though interacting with the next level, so I think we should probably build a bit more outside before we continue putting our insides back together. So let's start off with, oh, excuse me, that's myself. That's the top of the gates, because in the films the gates actually continue up like levels and levels and levels, floors and floors and floors. They're really tall, maybe 40 feet tall, maybe taller. And this arch here at the front is just a flying arch, so it just sits in front, creates that door archway, nice framing device, but the doors themselves just keep going up. So likewise on our build, the doors are going to keep going up a few levels. So on the inside here we see we've got another couple of these to give us that branch look. Then we've got a couple of clips strategically placed throughout, and those are going to receive some of our foliage pieces. So let's see if I've got all the right infrastructure in place now to carry that on. I do. Oh no, apparently I need one more bit in here to connect these two. So let's see what that looks like. Okay. There we go. So this, just another branch. But again, we're increasing the fatness of that branch by having this brick in here, May actually change this. I think I'd run out of plain ones at the time. So we might have a plain brick, and this I really do want to be in reddish brown. Ideally the top as well, just so this looks like one cohesive curving limb of our tree. And that's going to sit on top of this bit, so it's almost as if the branches or turns. That's gonna, disaster. Right. Well, it wouldn't be one of my builds if there wasn't one explosion. Set that on there. And these little bricky pieces here are going to help me hold everything together. Come on, find the studs. This is going swimmingly. Okay. There we go. Obviously much easier when I can't see what I'm doing. So that continues our gates up the outside and gives us some anchor points for some of our foliage pieces on the inside. So let's see if I can remember how to build this. So up here on the outside, right at the front, I'm just going to fill in our arch here, like this. So although it's not carved completely over and it's not a complete arch, it'd be even better if it was a pointed arch. I've just gone with flat here, so we don't go up too high. We don't want the arches going up too high. They do follow, I believe on the movie sets, they do follow the pitch, goes up nicely on the front, and the arches all come in just below. But to get the width on the door, I would have ended up with sort of like a double bow arch, which I didn't want. Could have built it in possibly slope bricks, but I didn't want to lose the curve. I do like the gentle curves rather than just the straights. So let's fill in some bits and bobs back here. I'm just going to put a couple of plates into the build, completely out of sequence obviously because this is far too tricky. There we go, one in there, one in there. I'm just going to start binding some of our disparate parts together. See, our towers are still waggly, but that will become less so as we build infrastructure on the inside. And then we're going to put together the rest of the outside of our building. Oh, upside down bricks, anybody? All right, there we go. So that's our gates enclosed now, fully settled in. We've got a little balcony-ish looking thing. It's meant to be open space, but again, I needed to hide the infrastructure in there. But it's not going to be too visible because we're going to be popping on this front piece, which is where we get our pitch for our floating arch. Just need a couple of random bricks on the inside in the corners, because we've got at the end of each one a little finial. We just need to support that. Just going to put an arch on there, and then a finial. Again with a brick that no one's going to see, so we'll use one of those Technic bricks that I seem to have in abundance. So that's the first layer. Just adjust so I can see what's going on. It's kind of the first layer of the gate, and that's the main gatehouse detail finished. There's more to come. We've got to finish off up the top here, but that's going to be integrated into finishing the build at the back here. So we're going to put this side column on just to fill up that gap. Okay, and likewise on the other side. This one is going up here. So see, we've got a snot brick on here, and it's going to give us some of our detail as we build our trees up. So now that we've got all these in place, let's just start finishing off up the top here. Put those in there. As you can see, we're getting a bit of show through on the back here of our external build, but we are going to be disguising that. I've got a feeling I've done a few of these bits out of sequence. I'm just going to take these guys off because they keep disappearing. We are going to need to rebuild some of these bits. Put this on here. So this is the start of a cutout section on the front of the build, and this is just the outside of it, that's going to be going all the way up to, why is that not right? Oh, I've missed a piece. It's going to be going all the way up to the 3rd level. It's going to be sitting on top, so just one more level up, and that's going to hold the clock on the front of the building. There we go. So now we've tied our towers into our main build. Got the front of our cutout on. Got a couple more of these guys. They're going to sit on there, and likewise on the other side. But for now, we're going to leave them off because we're going to use these spaces here, as you can probably tell by this brick already in situ, just to provide a bit more tree detail. So let's sort out some more forest pieces and carry on with that part of the build. There we go. Lost a piece. In fact, when you lose a piece but you don't know which piece you've lost, that's the worst type of losing a piece. Let's have a camera adjustment. I'll pop that in there as well. Right, so we've got those on both sides. Ready to start filling in some bits of more forest detail. So let's bring back some of the bits that we've already shown you. There's that trunk there. As you can see, these bits are going to be hidden behind this trunk going all the way up to the top of the build. And on this side, we've got another couple of layers going up. So first of all, we've got one of these. Now, as we've got a bit of space going backwards into there, we're going to make use of it. So camera adjust so we can work down. No, okay. So what we're going to add is a branch turning back into that recess, and we're just going to have an owl just perched up on the branch. And it's going to go back into there, sitting on this branch. And again, we've used this cheese wedge just to beef up the angle of the branch going up. You don't really see the branch piece going back, but it just gives us that depth. And that owl may look pretty stark and obvious now, but once we've got the rest of our tree builds in place, we'll be able to see that just disappearing into the back of the build. So, boring infrastructure bits in any old colour can go in there. I'm going to chunk up this. Just one brick layer. There we go. And then we're going to put one more of these corner ones on. See, we're starting to reach the top. So this is going to be a foliage branch. So again, that curved piece there echoes the radius there, and again we need some more reddish brown ones. I don't mind the mixed colours so much, but when they are meant to form just one piece that's meant to be, especially one natural piece, I don't know. I don't mind the variation, but I think I want it all in the one colour. Got another little extra block, and hopefully, if I've put this together correctly, that will space out and we'll meet those studs there. We can just use this round piece here to integrate our tree trunk with our background. There we see our owl, it's hidden in the back there. It's going to become even more tricky to see when we complete this tree trunk here. Taking our build all the way to the top. So there's that side, and there's just our owl just poking through the foliage. Well, not foliage at the moment, but through the trunks of the trees. Just a little Easter egg to spot when looking at the build. I'm sure there's something else we need to build. Right, so to disguise this bit here, we are going to use this piece that I've put together here. So obviously these bricks here are going to be exposed on the outside. So we're going to see those ones. That's why we've got the nice masonry detail. These ones are going to be hidden. They won't be visible from outside. So they are designed to match the inside. And we've obscured largely, but not completely, the tan colour with some brown brackets. And these are going to fit in here. And again, I'm missing what looks like one stud's worth of space. Is that right? Yeah, that goes there, that goes there. Is this, no, this, that feels, oh no. I thought, no, that does go like that. That's exactly how it goes. So what am I, ah, yes. All right. We're going to actually be extending this branch out just because we want the foliage to be above any minifigures' heads as well as sort of behind them. So there we go. Pop that in there for a brief dither. Now again, so to fill up this space here, oh, let's just pop our cap piece on there for now. I might need to take that off again in a moment. So you're going to use exactly the same style of build. You're going to be plunging those tree trunk pieces back into here, but we need to make sure that they are braced enough on the inside that they will hold. That doesn't feel right, that must be the top. So let's discover together how I decided to do that, because I have forgotten. So that went in there, yeah. That one goes in there. Whoa. So this is the problem with not having them all joined. Ah, right. Yes? No? Maybe, I don't know. Huh. I think that it? Doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel like there's enough studs holding this together. There's going to be a piece at the end going, you forgot about me. Yeah, there's definitely another piece underneath. Just to sort these fellas out. What piece could that be? There are so few left. Looks like it could be a candidate. Okay, let's try this out. So I think what I probably did was wreck the place. Put a couple of these bad boys across that. Yes, this is definitely what I did. I need one more. I know that I do. Come on, fella, where are you? Right, back to the spares box. Now, I felt earlier that a piece had pinged away into the deep recesses of the room. I think I've now discovered what that piece was. All right, so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be sliding this one in, and again, now we're at the right height. We're going to get that tension against the roof of the column piece, and just by making sure that's its original shape, you can slide right in there. This one likewise, just going to slide in there, and there we have our two trunks just sliding in underneath, and again we're gaining some of that depth back that we lost. And that's going to be capped with this piece here. Now, yes, I know the parts are joined and we do ruin the illusion of those being two separate trees. Let's put this back in here, try and bring that back up again. Now we've got one more of these. I'm just going to complete this trunk. Okay. Again, got a bit of olive green in there. It's going to need to be replaced with brown in an upcoming bricklink order. I think that gives us most of what we're going for. So this bit, I ordered two of these lions and I had absolutely no way to use them. I don't know what I was thinking when I ordered them. But then I was doing this monumental piece of architectural build and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and get them in there. So I think I've managed to work them in okay. So now, what's next? Let's go back to the reference photographs. Oh wow. Okay. Right, so get rid of this noisy bowl. Sling all our parts on the side and see how we get on. Right, so we're going to be building up this column up here, and this actually gives us another bit of some branch detail. We're going to start off with a little column there. This one again, here we've got a little clip in for some foliage. These snot bricks are going to hold another little piece of interest, which is another one of these trimmed branches. Just going to sit on those two studs there. And then just here on this snot brick, we're going to add the first of our angleable branches. So that starts off with one of these 2x cheese wedges. That just sits in there. And behind that, in the gap, is going to go one of these guys. These little tilt tables. That's going to sit in there. And having that cheese wedge in there just stops that going back too far and actually makes it a fairly solid build. And from this, we're going to hang one of our branches. I can't remember which one. It might even be this one. But I will go back to the reference photo in a minute. But just to show you what the deal is. Oh. Come on. Attach. No, you want to. Oh, that was tricky. Managed to make it look even more difficult than it actually was. So that will give us, again, a bit of foliage. And this is the style of foliage we're using for this build. And because it's on that tilt plate, it can angle out. So we actually get to go beyond the confines of the build. And with this being rotatable, I can put it at an angle that will nicely expand the interior diorama, but can be also tucked away for storage. So that's going to be one of the things you'll notice about the foliage on this, is it isn't in a permanent position, because all of it needs to fucking tuck and fold away is the expression I was trying to use there, and I nearly managed it as well. So this needs to tuck away, so all of these need to be able to rotate. That's why we've got these little brackets and clips, just so that all of our foliage can fold down, because it all needs to stay within the bounds, side to side, within the depth footprint. As you can see, well, you may not be able to tell, but that lines up completely with the depth of that. That's why there's a lot of plates involved instead of just bricks, just to make sure we don't go beyond that, because when this sits in the castle, the floors of the castle will be butting up right against that base plate, so everything needs to be flush there. We've got the edges of modules, we need to be flush there and there. But of course, square and flush do not a very good forest seam make, and so we've had to use some angles and some rotation just to be able to expand out the interest we're getting in the forest there. So next bit on top, if I remember rightly, doesn't actually make a huge amount of sense logically, but at least it fills the gap that I'm going to have up there. I think I probably made this purely because I was running low on brown bricks at the time, and then when I got a restock I never bothered to change it. But it does just add a bit more depth and texture into the build, if not any actual sense. Put our line back on that. There we go. That's our first bit of major foliage in place. Just going to tilt that out of the way. So, judging by the pieces I've got left, I think I've mostly finished the infrastructure of this, so I can actually start adding in our foliage. So these pieces in the top here, these gaps, are going to be home to a couple more of our recessed branches. That's the way we're going to do that. I'm going to take a couple of these bad boys. Is that what I want to do? No, I think that is what I want to do. So there's a brick. Got our... Oh, there goes my light. Good night, sweet prince. We're relying on the daylight. What have I done there? Completely the wrong way up. Hope you can still see this. So that's going to be our tilt table for this branch. That's just going to give us a few degrees, allow us to bring the branches up to a tilt of about 30 degrees. And again, it just stops us being completely flat across the top of the diorama and lets our trees expand a little bit into space. I'm going to build another one of these. Do you know what? That's completely wrong. Because although that is the technique I'm using, the pivot is actually much further out. The pivot is actually built into the branch, just so we get a tilt angle like that. So again, we're going up a little bit breaking up, let's see if we can see, breaking up the line across the top, so we're not getting that straight line, but also giving us a little bit more control. Because if we have too much, the pivot too far back, I was working from an earlier iteration of this. If the pivot's too far back, then there's far too much weight this side of the pivot, and eventually as the bricks start losing tension, it just droops and it can't support the weight of the build. So that's the first of our recessed branches. Second one's going to be just the same. A couple of those in there. Let's find our boy. There we go. Again, all built to be just the right depth, so that with the foliage that's going to sit just against our castle interior. So that's how that will live, but we get a little tilt out of it, a little tilt out of this one, and a little tilt out of this one, just to spread our foliage out a little bit. So having done that, I'm going to undo it now because they just get in the way of putting in the lower foliage pieces. So let's see, what have we got to add here? So I think we're going to add a cut limb there just to cover up that piece, and then another little cut limb printed piece. There we go. And in the middle we've got another branch that's just going to stick out. It doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right. Reference photos. Save me from myself. Ah, yes, this is where the deeper one is. So this is where our bad boy is going to sit right actually on the build, with our tilt table right back deep. Oh, there's a leaf. Plug that on there. So again, we've got just a little bit of angle that we can add just to disguise the flat top of the backdrop and make it look a bit more foresty. So again, we'll take that fella off and sit with his chums here at the side and work on some of the plug-in foliage now. So these ones all follow the same style. So it's just one of these foliage pieces, fairly obviously, and then we put on just a bunch of leaves just to get a nice full branch. Hold on with one of these double clips, secured with one of our curved tiles, and these are going to simply plug in to the wall of our build. So we've got quite a few, and hopefully these will just add a bit of extra something the build currently lacks. This one's built slightly differently. So for this one we've just got just a straight leaf hanging down, so I build most of them the other way up, so the furthest bit is attached, but this one's built a bit deeper. And is that one? That one doesn't live there. Where does it live? Is it on that one? Reference photos. I don't know why I try and do this from memory. I'm not good at it. Right, where are you? Where are you? No, not that one. Well, I'm sure you can agree this is gripping stuff. We desperately try and find one leaf among many. All right, let's work on a process of elimination. That one's on there. Fine, that's good. Does that one want to be on there? No, because that'll clash. That'll clash. On there, maybe? No. Eventually I'll get it and I feel all smug and proud of myself. But right now I have no clue what I've done. So all those people that do the digital designing have obviously got their head screwed on the right way, because it makes it much easier. Let's work with what I can do. That filler's on there. Got one on there. Got another one in there. So this one, we fattened the branch up just to go on this limb. And again, probably want to replace that palisade piece with a normal brick, just so it looks like we've got one cohesive, if the camera would like to see it, one cohesive bit coming up here, and that dark orange also doing us no favours. That gives us one of our thicker limbs. What's on there? What's we got? Oh, that's my shot. Another one. Another one clipped on our owl branch. This is a tricky one. There we go, we're in. Lovely. And I'm still none the wiser, and also feel like there are plenty of spaces missing. This one's got to go under here. So it looks like that. Oh dear, let's just pull the entire build apart. Well, I guess. Okay, well, it seems to want to fit there. So, as you can see, or in fact you can't, all of this foliage will fold down nicely. You can rotate it in so that none of its pieces are sticking out beyond the edge of the build. So they will sit within the confines, so that when we place this into the castle, it never overlaps. Let's bring back these top branches here. There it goes. Three. So they're all in there. So this is kind of our, let's see if we can bring it out there a little bit. This is kind of the tucked away foliage. So none of it extends beyond the perimeter of the build. I mean, it's very difficult to show you that on camera and prove that that's true, but it is. All of these are all within the footprint of the build, and none of them stick out further than the front of the base. So everything is completely in line and completely hidden, so that when we slot this into our Hogwarts build, you wouldn't know it was there. If you were just looking at the outside of the castle, all you would see is castle exterior. So we clearly have some last few bits to fill in here, just to make our tree build complete. So just let the trunk carry on up there. So here we're behind foliage, largely. So by the looks of things, I decided to cheap out on any kind of actual design work. Just filled up the space with stuff. I think I've lost a stud there. There he is. Put that in there. So we're just bringing this all up to level. And now I'm going to start. What have I done? I've made a terrible mistake. I do not yet know what it is. Ah, that's why. Excuse me while I briefly edit my failures. Come out. Brick separator, where did I put you? Right, now I'm desperately raiding my son's Lego for a brick separator. How rare is that? He's actually got one. Excellent. Good. Problem solved. Enemies defeated. Problems overcome. We're in. Right. Let's just reassemble this piece here. And as you can see, that's now at level, because that needs to go on there. On this one here. We get one there and there. And that finally integrates that lion piece, stabilising this whole side of the tower. So waiting for that last stud to go in. Now, so this is our stud connection here, this layer just at the top here. That's our stud connection to attach onto the next level of the build. But I don't want it to be studs all the way across, otherwise that will be, although I want the strong bond, that will be too strong and I'll just end up taking it apart where it doesn't want to come apart. So we're just going to fill up the space here, not quite, with some plate. We've got some of these nice triangle pieces. They're just going to fill in here and here. Lovely. So that's going to smooth off part of our connection level, and then we've just got the studs at the edge here, and again smooth at the ends. So there's sufficient to hold the next level of the build and stop it from collapsing. Now, this is a slightly shonky bit of building, because all of the build weight is just there, and yet the plate will extend right across and over the top of our forest. So although I don't want too many studs holding it, I do need enough to make sure that it's secure enough to hold the front of the building. Now, because the edge of each level has got the pinholes that pin in to the fully built modules at the front of Hogwarts, with each level on top again having a pinhole that will pin into each level, and that will allow us to keep alignment, keep everything staying up straight and flush and true as we build up the outside of our build. Now, I've got a big stack of bricks here that I'm concerned were meant to be vital infrastructure, because I know they're not detail, and I think they pop in. Yeah, look at that big gap. Nothing supporting anything in there. That's what these guys were for. Watch this all explode now as I try and put in a stack of bricks that clearly weren't as necessary as I thought they were. There we go. They're in. Now we'll hide away inside the tree that column of ill-advised pick-a-brick selections of yesteryear. We can reattach that. And that, and that. Right, we're mostly done. Now let's see if we can open this up a bit and make it look a bit more foresty. So as we angle our tops up, just allows us to just play with where our foliage is going. Each of these branches angles out. We get a bit of sway from side to side for the most part. This branch is on its hinge going out that way. Again, these lower ones can take up some space outside. I need to let this leaf through. There we go. We can bring our forest foliage up and make it a lot fuller. There we go. So you're getting no good view of this. So we're going to go wobbly handheld. Let's see what we can see. So, sorry about the light. Died earlier. But just give you an overall impression. So we've got all of our foliage there, taking up the space. This can stay down, but it just allows us to break up the straight edges of the you know, the building module. That's got to be square. It's a building. It make no sense to be wobbly. But now, when we're showing our forest, we can expand that out, make it a look a bit more organic. So let's fold these away, otherwise they're just going to get all kinds of in my way. See if I can do this without popping off too many leaves. So these ones at the back here in the middle, when we're doing our second, no, not even close to second year, our 5th year scene, which is obviously going to be Graup, they're just going to be back, because Graup will pretty much fill all of this space in the middle, so we need to make sure there's plenty of open space for him, yet still room to show that it's a forest. And then of course our minifig size, let's bring in Hagrid. He's obviously bigger than normal, so it really does give you a kind of bit more of an epic sense of the forest, not so much with the daylight shining through the back, but it's a nice big, really foresty bit. And of course we've got a scene in almost every movie. So the first film, we've got a foray into the forest with Malfoy, where they see the unicorns being drained. Second movie, classically, that's probably the most forbidden foresty scene out of all of them. We get Aragog. So Aragog will pop in. Let's move these here. We'll end up having a little like mound, and we'll just have the front of an Aragog and legs as he comes up there, and then loads and loads of Lego spiders. We might even see if we can squeeze in a Ford Anglia, but it will be a bit of a squeeze. That'll be our year 2 scene. Third film, Azkaban. Oh, of course, yes. We'll have a bit of Lakeshore, and we'll have the Harry and Sirius being attacked by the Dementors at the shore of the lake. So that'll be a year 3. Year 4 is going to be meeting Barty Crouch Senior. Comes stumbling out of the woods here with Mad Eye and Harry. 5, that's Graup and the Centaurs. We could also do a Centaur scene in the first film, of course. Now, year 6, I cannot think of a forbidden forest scene in year 6. I'm sure there is one. I've only listened to the audiobook recently, but it's just not coming to me. I suppose the closest we might get to a scene that we could set here for year 6 is Aragog's funeral, maybe. Harry, Slughorn and Hagrid, and then a big curled up Aragog on the floor. That's a potential one for a Forbidden Forest scene for year 6. And of course year 7, you'd have Harry confronting Voldemort with the Death Eaters looking on. So we've got some foliage bits of ground cover and things, some mushrooms and stuff, but seeing as my lights failed, it's not going to be very easy to see what's going on. But these are just going to give us a bit of ground cover around the base of the trees, just to stop them looking quite so much like cylinders disappearing into a green base. Maybe some little rooty bits, he says, not being able to attach them. Oh, thrilling television. There we go. And then just some various foliage and leaves and mushrooms and bits and bobs. Again, in kind of dead space that we can't use for anything else, just in between roots and things like that, just to give us a bit more interest, disguise some of these frankly poor design decisions. But you get the general idea. We're just going to be adding in a bit of ground cover. This needs a proper bit of design. I mean, it looks like a random few pieces of foliage because it is just random pieces of foliage. We've just got one more piece to finish off, and that's back on the outside of our build and our gatehouse. Just going to add a few jumpers around the edge. Now, because of where this sits on the space available, I have absolutely zero room for a full courtyard. So the best I can manage is this brief and tiny perimeter wall. My pinged piece away. Oh, that's gone forever. Box of spares. Oh, seriously? Oh, my last dark tan jumper plate has pinged itself into the void. Oh. Brief depression. Right, let's just swap one of these. Have a brown one. Don't tell anyone. So as I say, no space for a courtyard, so we're just going to build up a little wall. Put those on either side. There's just a couple of 1x4s with cheese wedges on top. Some pillars in the corners. And again 1x2s at the front. Whoop. Now the reason they're on jumpers, because I always find this kind of angle here, just that tiny little bit, and also if we can just wiggle it just a little bit, it just makes it really noticeable, because you notice the odd angle. We get a cleaner join there, although there is no join. We get a cleaner seam at the bottom there, so you can see what's going on a bit nicer. So we just get this nice clean seam instead of that gap where the brick curls. That closes up nicely, and because it's an odd angle, you notice it, so it gives a bit of a nicer look there. No, irony, I don't think I've ever seen anyone make an Aragorn funeral scene either, which makes me want to make it more. I've got to be first at something. Just pop Hagrid in there just to see the scale of our doors. They're nice and big. Oh, and there it goes, destroyed. So I'll just pop these on top there. And there we go. We are finished with the first of a number. This is just going awfully. I should never touch Lego. The first of a number of hidden, if you like, secret, maybe you might want to describe them as, vignette displays for our Hogwarts. So I was desperately working out how to fill in that space. And I came up with this facade for the front, and I thought I might put in some kind of building or something in there, some other classrooms, but I pretty much run out of things I wanted to build for the inside of Hogwarts. But as we all know, there is an entire wizarding world that I was missing out on, and so I decided to do these scenes on the inside. So they're not only going to be Hogwarts. We've got this level, which is our Forbidden Forest. I'm still deciding on what the next sets are going to be. I've got one, and that is going to be the homes of the Wizarding World. So it's going to be a flat scene that's going to have building interiors, and it's going to be a modular. It's going to be a pop in, pop out. So I don't want to use up all three of my available or remaining vignette spaces just doing homes. So I thought that it would be a modular one, just like the interiors of many of my MOCs in my Hogwarts. So that's going to have 4 Privet Drive, the Burrow, 12 Grimmauld Place, building interiors that I know I want so far. Shrieking Shack, I'm going to do that as an interior. just so that for each of the movies we get one, if not more, depending on which bit of the movie I'm showing in my scene. Interiors for a wizarding home. I suppose Shrieking Shack's not really a home, but a wizarding building elsewhere. So that's one of my 3 remaining scenes that stack on top of this one. If anyone's got any ideas what other ones could be, I was considering a Hogwarts Express interior for one of them, just because again that's a film in which we get a scene in almost every movie. The option was, instead of an interior for that one, I make it an exterior and make a little platform build and almost a 2D Hogwarts Express in the background. I saw it on Instagram and I can't remember the guy who posted it, but it was a fabulous little framed brick built picture of the Hogwarts Express. I mean, it was 3D, but you know, for all intents and purposes, it was just a slice through the build, and it was a really nice model. And I thought, yes, that's exactly what I've been thinking I would do. So I was very impressed with it. I thought, yeah, I think I'll do the same sort of thing. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. But I've got 3 to fill up. I know I want my home's interiors in one of them. And if anyone's got any suggestions or ideas for what to do with the other 2, then please leave a comment, or you can find me on Instagram at brickinitlego_mocs _ between each word. And there we go. That's nearly an hour and a half of building, failing to build, breaking things, forgetting how I did it, and general wittering on. So we're going to shut down the stream there. Thank you for joining us. If you're seeing this as at a later date, thank you for watching. Oh, one more last minute comment. What have we got? We'd love to see your take on Creatures spot at 12. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Creatures cupboard under the stairs. Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, full of random treasures and boiler pipes, and see, that feels like a little build that you could squirrel away somewhere, just like a hidden little nugget. Because the thoughts I've got for 12 Grimmauld Place interior at the moment is it's basically basically a flat walls build. So this is the width, and on one side you're going to have the living room, because I've got my 12 Grimmauld Place sticker sheet that I managed to snag on Bricklink. I've got the living room with the mural, the tapestry, and then we've got a brief hallway, and there you'll have the mum's portrait hanging up there, and on this side we've got a kitchen with a kitchen table and a cooker and stuff. So it wouldn't fit on that, but Creature's Nook is quite an interesting little thought, actually. Because again, I'm going to run out of content soon if I don't come up with some new ideas. So that is an excellent little idea for a mini build that I may well take on. Give that a try. So my clock says I've got about 15 seconds before I've been doing this for an hour and a half. So I'm going to call it there at 90 minutes. So thank you for watching. Thanks for joining us on the stream. And if you'd like to see more Hogwarts Lego mock builds, then please subscribe to Brickin' It. Bye-bye.